Katie Stagliano is continuing to do great things with her nonprofit organization, Krops. Today, I talk one-on-one with her about what's new right now for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Katie Stagliano, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You are obviously the founder and CEO of Katie's Krops, which empowers kids across the country to grow fresh produce locally to fight obviously hunger in the communities. Well, let me ask you this. How many of those kids right now are actually growing fresh produce here in the Tri-County region?
We have so many growers in the Tri-County region. It is amazing. We have over 15 gardens, and all of them are started by youth. We have a lot of gardens at local schools, which has been amazing to see just all the kids working together at schools, and all of the produce is going directly back to families in need in our community. And it's been especially amazing to see because a lot of our school gardens, the produce will go home with families at the school that are in need, faculty at the school that are in need, and the children. So it's just so great to see the impact that our community is making and these amazing kids and how passionate they are about their gardens and helping people in our area.
Now, Katie, let me ask you, how much of that produce is actually going back to the communities right now?
100% of our produce goes back to the community. We do not sell any produce or anything like that. So the produce is all directly donated to soup kitchens, homeless shelters, families in need, food banks, and then we also use some of our produce for our Katie's Krops meal distributions. So we do those distributions every other week. And so we use the produce from the gardens for our meal distributions as well, and we are now serving 600 plus meals to the community, 200 of which are deliveries to families who do not have transportation or who are dealing with medical issues.
Now, how many of those families actually have transportation issues and how many of them have medical issues?
We have a very good amount of people who reach out and they just cannot get to the dinner. They don't have a car. They are homebound. A lot of people, especially with flu season coming up and people who are immune compromised, they're really struggling because they might not be able to leave the house. Elderly people. We help a lot of individuals who are fighting diseases such as cancer, and they are struggling between putting food on their table or paying their medical bills. So it's really heartbreaking, but we have an incredible delivery team. They are amazing, and they go out and deliver 200 plus meals to the community. And we also have Lieutenant Andy from the Sheriff's Department, and he brings meals out to the homeless encampments as well. So we're really trying to reach everybody that we can, and we're really seeing the number of people that are dealing with medical issues and that don't have transportation rise significantly.
Wow. So how many of those homeless encampments are there in the Tri-County region right now?
I do not know how many homeless encampments there are. I know that we do everything we can to reach everyone from these areas. And Lieutenant Andy is amazing about bringing meals. He's the best. We also do have a lot of walk-up homeless guests who come up with meal distribution, people that bike up as well. So anyone is welcome. We just want to make sure that we're able to get a healthy, fresh meal and fresh produce to anyone in need in the community.
And so, Katie, how many people have you actually added to your delivery team to get these foods out to those people?
So our delivery team is small but mighty. I would say we probably on any given night have between 7 to 10 delivery drivers, and they each make several stops. And it's great because they've gotten to know the families that they deliver to. They've built a relationship with them, and it's just the most heartwarming thing to see. But we really do have a small team, and it's awesome too because a lot of our delivery drivers are families with young kids, and a lot of these young kids have also helped in the garden. So they've helped to grow the produce. Now they're seeing it prepared in a meal, and they're also getting to see the people that it helps. So it's just the coolest full circle experience.
Absolutely. So who is Katie in the garden?
Katie in the garden, I probably this summer spent almost every single day in the garden, but it's been so much fun. We have expanded our garden so much. So now we have our outdoor classroom in the garden and we do classes out there. I do story time in the garden, which is so much fun to get to read stories to kids, take them on little garden tours. We get to try a lot of the produce, which is really fun to do as well. And then we have garden work mornings, and I get to spend time with just these awesome kids. They have become like a second family to me. And we have volunteers in the garden as young as 1 year old, and our core group of volunteers is between the ages of 1 and 7. They're amazing. They know the garden like the back of their hand. And so I get to spend time with them and our other incredible volunteers who come out to the gardens, and really just getting to enjoy nature, getting to enjoy kind of giving back, but also getting to see these kids and how excited they are and how much just they love being in the garden and everything like that. Overall, it's just an incredible experience, and I think that I'm not made to do anything else. I think I found my path. I found exactly what I'm meant to do, and it is running Katie's Krops. It's getting to do the meal distributions, getting to do the classes, getting to do things in the garden. I could not ask for a better job. I feel so lucky.
Oh yeah, thank God for that. So tell me this, Katie, what produce in the garden right now that you haven't tried before that you actually tried this past summer?
So this past summer, have tried a couple of different things. We tried heat-resistant lettuce, which was really cool. We grew watermelons for the first time in a while. I mean, our watermelons were huge. They were actually like this big. I was very impressed on that one. I'm trying to think, did we grow anything else? We did try new varieties of beans, which was a lot of fun, but I think our heat-resistant lettuce and our watermelon and some white eggplant. We also grew white eggplant. So it was really cool to get to try new and different things. And I think we're also, for the fall, as we get ready for fall planting, we're going to try and expand what we're growing. We always try to grow the things that will produce the highest yield so that we can make sure that with one plant, we're getting a tremendous harvest from it and we're able to help more people. And we've also expanded our growing space too. So we've tried to use every little inch of growing space. We have triangle beds that are in the corner of our fence posts to try and let things grow up. And we also have cattle panel fencing, so we can use that. We had our cucumbers growing up and our watermelons, our gourds, our squash. So we're trying to use every inch of growing space. But we have tried a couple of new things this summer, and I'm sure we'll try a couple of new things this fall as well.
Now, what has been the highest yield as far as, obviously growing certain plants and fruits and vegetables, I should say?
That is a tough one. I think it really just depends. For us this year, I think our highest yielding things were probably zucchini and squash. They exploded this year. I could not tell you why, but it was just the coolest thing. We must have gotten over 1,000 pounds of zucchini and squash. And this year we were battling with the heat, where it was really hot and really dry for extended periods of time, and then it was really wet for a while. So our gardens did not like that. And so we kind of struggled with some things because things were literally getting fried and then they were drowning in the water. But we did really well with our zucchini and squash, so that was really exciting. And I think that might have been our best year yet with growing that. So that was really exciting. And then we also have done really well with our eggplants and with our peppers and our tomatoes. So it was overall, despite everything, it was a very good year, but it was an awesome year for our zucchini and squash.
And what were those other challenges at the garden?
We have dealt with quite a few challenges. Most of it was the weather. We also had a family of bunnies that lives in the garden, and so they like to munch on the beans and things like that. We've had, I believe, deer that have come in to the garden, also some raccoons. So lots of wildlife loves the garden, which is great. We're happy that they love it, but we don't love when they munch on our vegetables. Yeah. So we've kind of just been dealing with that and then dealing with the sort of weather extremes. But our volunteer base has been amazing. When it was super dry, we would have lots of people volunteer to come up and to help us water, and people going up just to help any way they can. So we've been super lucky in that aspect, and fingers crossed for a good fall.
Yes, indeed. So with that volunteer base, how do you want to expand that?
We would love to just have anybody who wants to come up to the garden come up and help. We really have just such a wide variety of volunteer base and also a wide variety of volunteer opportunities. Like I said, we have so many kids in the garden, and I think we cater a lot towards homeschool families as well, because during the school year, we have plenty of opportunities for them to kind of come and use the garden as a learning tool for their homeschool classes and kind of get their hands dirty. So we do have a lot of volunteer opportunities, usually weekday mornings. And then we also have delivery drivers for our meal distributions. We can always use people to join our delivery team. We can always use people to bake desserts for our meal distributions. We just ask that they're individually packaged. We also do milk donations at our meal distributions. So we have people bring milk in that we're able to pass out to families. And we can also use high school students to help at our Katie's Krops dinners. So we do those every other week. And so it's just a whole variety of things. If you're interested in volunteering, we would love to have you. You can check out all of the information. It's on our website, katieskrops.com, Katie with the K and Krops with the K. And you can find where you can sign up to volunteer. And once you join our volunteer list, we'll send you out emails with everything that's going on. But we would love to have more people up to the garden. There is always work to be done in the garden, at the dinners, with just everything. So we'd love to have more people come up.
Absolutely. And so what more work do you have to do right now in the garden?
So right now we are in the middle of transitioning from spring/summer to fall. So we are amending beds, taking out what is done for the season, and then we're going to get into fall planting as well. And so really just kind of getting all of that under control. We're also working on expanding our composting program because we want to be more sustainable. So we had an amazing Eagle Scout who came out and built more compost bins for us. So now we're kind of working on getting our compost bins up and running and our program up and running so that as we continue to expand the garden, we're able to produce a lot of our own compost and be more sustainable that way. So really just focusing on getting ready for fall. Fall planting is coming up, which is super exciting, and just making sure that we are ready to have a great fall growing season.
Now, how many composters do you hope to have by the end of the year?
We have, I want to say we have about 10 right now, and we're hoping to soon launch the program out to the community where they will be able to come pick up buckets, fill them with their kitchen scraps, compostable things, and then bring them back, and we'll be able to dump them in the compost bins and really be able to expand that way. It's something that we've been working on for quite some time, so we're super excited about.
Yes, and I know earlier, Katie, you mentioned about the homeschool families. How many of those have you served thus far?
We have, oh my goodness, we have so many homeschool families that come out. I don't even think I could put a number on it. They are awesome, and they come out to the classes. They use their classes as part of their homeschool curriculum. They come out to garden work days. A lot of them do deliveries or make desserts for the meal distributions. So we have such an amazing homeschool community, and if anyone out there happens to be homeschooled and is looking for classes for their kids, for volunteer opportunities, we would love to have y'all come out to the garden.
Absolutely. So, Katie, let me ask you this. What classes do you want to teach next?
Ooh, that is a tough one. We've had so many exciting classes recently. We definitely want to continue to partner with the South Carolina Aquarium because we've done some really cool classes with them. We've done amazing classes with Old Santee Canal Park. 4-H does some really cool things. We want to kind of keep working on our growing classes. We have some classes coming up with our Master Gardener for fall growing classes to kind of teach people in the community how they're able to grow their own produce. So that will be super exciting. We love doing different arts and crafts kind of based on the season. So coming up, we'll probably make some okra angels towards the holidays and fun things like that. I think just really utilizing the garden for everything it has to offer and all the lessons that can be learned. And that is what I'm most excited about. But we have an amazing outdoor classroom coordinator. Her name is Miss Erin. She is simply the best, and she always helps us get the coolest classes, and it's always so exciting to see everything that she comes up with. We had goats come up to the garden the other day, and the kids learned all about goats and all about them, and it was just so cool to see. So I'm excited to see what else we have coming up, but definitely I want to keep working with just the amazing people in the community and hopefully find some new organizations to partner with as well.
Now, how many of those organizations that is are you partnering with right now?
We are partnering with a lot of organizations in the community. We work really close with Hearts for Somerville, Meals on Wheels. We work closely with Dorchester Community Outreach and their shelters, and really just trying to reach everybody that we can. We're also partnering with a lot of different organizations for our outdoor classrooms, like 4-H, Old Santee Canal Park, the aquarium. I mean, it's just really cool to see all the different people and how we all have different missions, but we're able to work together towards a common cause.
And what will be that common cause in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think for us, we are looking to expand across the United States, get to all 50 states across the United States, and then go nationwide and all across the world. I think that will just be so exciting to see the mission of Katie's Krops kind of spreading internationally. I am a firm believer that working together, we can be a part of the solution to hunger. So I think just being able to empower as many kids as possible and give them the tools to be able to make a difference in their community.
And what are the number of people living in households in Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester that are actually struggling against hunger right now?
That number has risen exponentially. I think especially since really the start of the pandemic, we saw so many more people coming out to our meal distributions, reaching out for help with food. Before, when we were doing our sit-down Katie's Krops dinners, we were doing about between 150 and 250 meals. And as soon as COVID started, we had to switch over to our drive-through meal distributions, and now we do 600 meals. And it's insane to think just how much the need has grown, how many people are struggling. It's so sad. We feel so blessed to be able to do something to help these people, but we've definitely just seen so many people, and a lot of these people have never struggled with hunger or food insecurity before, and now they're wondering where their next meals come from. People who had lost their jobs, kids who had been in school and now are doing school virtually, so they had been receiving free and reduced price breakfast and lunches, but now they are no longer in school in person. So there was just so many different factors, and we kind of see it continue to be an issue, especially with rising gas prices, food shortages, just rising costs of everything, inflation. It's definitely taken a toll on people in our community, but we are always here. We want to make sure that we can get to as many people as possible, help them with meals, help them with fresh produce, and if it's not something that we're able to help with, to direct them to another organization who can.
Now, how many of those people you actually, because you guys couldn't help them, how many of those people have you been able to direct to someplace else?
We try to make sure that we're able to help everyone that we can, and we usually are, but there's some things that people come to us for that we don't directly deal with. And so depending on what it is, we will kind of do our research, and maybe there's an organization that we're partnered with who deals with that specific thing that we're not able to deal with. And so we're able to say, hey, these are great people to reach out to for help. We really just want to make sure that people kind of know their resources in the community, know who to reach out to, and who will be there for them.
Yes, sorry about butchering that question, but let me ask you this. Okay, you talk about those rising food costs and obviously food shortages and whatnot. How's that affected your garden?
So it's affected our garden in the way that we are now trying to grow even more produce, because one, for our meal distributions are so much more expensive now because everything is more expensive. For instance, we were trying to do protein with every meal distribution. The price of protein, oh my goodness, it skyrocketed. Sure. And even just the basic things are so much more expensive now. So we are trying to be able to grow as much as we can from the garden so we can use as much of our fresh produce in our meals as possible to kind of subsidize that cost. We also recognize just how many people are in need, and we want to make sure we're able to donate fresh produce to the local soup kitchens homeless shelters, food pantries to make sure that it's able to get out to those who need it most in the community, bringing baskets of vegetables to families. So we are trying to really up everything that we do to meet this growing need.
Now, how many of those kids, Katie, that you're actually giving food to now that were once on free or reduced lunch in the Tri-County region?
That number I'm not quite sure of, but I do know that we have so many people that come through our meal distributions that really shared how much of an issue it was and how they're struggling even more now because they've been so reliant on that help and it just stopped because of COVID. And I do believe that now those programs are back up and running, which is great. And a lot of our school gardens, they donate the produce they have their backpack programs, their food pantries, things like that. So I am so proud of the kids for the fact that they are able to help those in need at their school and provide them with healthy, fresh produce.
Now, how much produce do you actually donate to the food pantries and how much do you actually donate to homeless shelters?
It really just varies. We have a lot of amazing people that we work with in the community, and we kind of try to share the love so everybody gets something, and we make sure that we spread it out to make sure that we serve everyone that we can. But it really just varies. We try to make sure that all of the food goes evenly to different places. And if we have families reaching out saying, I could use some help, we make sure to prioritize them as well. So it really just depends, but we try to spread the love and spread all the fresh veggies all across the area.
Now, by the end of this year, 2022, how many people do you expect to serve in the Tri-County region?
I think that we will. So in last year and the year before, we served over 30,000 meals. And that was insane. We had our best year yet last year in terms of how much produce we grew. We grew over 49,000 pounds of produce across the country, donated to those struggling with hunger and food insecurity. And I really think that this year, as everyone kind of ups their efforts, that number will increase, and also the number of meals we serve will increase because we kind of stay increasing how many people we serve to keep up with the growing needs. So I would say we would do well over 25,000 meals this year, along with donations of fresh produce.
So what are those growing needs here in this Tri-County region?
We're seeing a lot of people who are reaching out that are really struggling at the grocery store because of inflation and how much things cost. And now they're struggling between buying healthy, fresh foods and buying packaged and processed foods. We've also seen that being an issue with those on food stamps, emergency food programs. It's harder for them to prioritize healthy options because a lot of times they are more expensive. There's also people that live in food deserts where the closest grocery store is not close enough for them to be able to get to, and so they are relying on places with food that's more packaged, processed, not as healthy food. We are seeing a lot of people who are really also just struggling with rising gas prices and not being able to really get to the places where they can receive help because of how expensive it is. A lot of elderly people as well, and people dealing with a lot of chronic illnesses, cancer, things like that, and they're really just struggling to make sure that they're able to give their bodies the fuel that they need. So it's really heartbreaking just to see people struggling in the community, but we do want to make sure that we do everything we can and that we are there for our community.
So this might be a tough question for you, Katie, but where do you see the uptick in obviously food deserts, and where do you see the uptick in food insecurity in this region?
So one of the things that we do at Katie's Krops is we don't ask a lot of questions. If someone comes to us and they say, we need food, we need fresh produce, we don't really ask anything else, and we just make sure that we are able to give it to them. So for that reason, we don't kind of have the statistics because we keep track of how many people we serve and how many meals we distribute and how much fresh produce we distribute, but we don't really keep track of where the people are coming from because to us, it's not something that is so important as getting the produce to them, getting the meals to them. That is kind of our priority as opposed to kind of keeping track of things. But we just know that we've seen a really big uptick in people that are struggling now that have never struggled before.
Wow. I want to ask you more about that in a later interview, but let me ask you one last question because the rain's coming back, I believe. Let me ask you this: what do you actually want to grow on your particular farm or garden right now that you couldn't do maybe 5, 10 years ago?
Ooh, that's tough. We have been super, super blessed to have our flagship garden at Crossroads Community Church. They're amazing, and we've really expanded so much. So we are kind of right now, we're experimenting with things that can grow up our cattle panel fencing. So we're able to grow our gourds, our cucumbers, our watermelon. Like that was something that we did not grow in the past because we didn't have as much access to trellises and things that it could grow up. Butternut squash, that is always so exciting to grow and to see. So I think just the wide variety that we're able to grow and how we have areas that we can grow and things will grow upwards. So it's really exciting to see. I think one of my favorite things that we've grown recently has been the watermelon because it was so cool. It looked exactly like the watermelon that you would buy from the store, and we literally just picked it straight out of the garden. So that was really amazing.
Wow.
Also think that just being able to try new and different things and knowing we have the space for it and the capability, that has been really cool as well.
So, Katie, with all the resources that you have, and as you know, and everybody else knows in this particular region, there are more people moving to this area. How do your organization keep up with that growth?
We really just try to do everything we can to expand to meet the growing expansion of the area. So as I said before, we've kind of expanded our flagship garden a lot. We have tried to reach out to more people in the community to expand our volunteer base. That comes with expanding our delivery team to make sure we're able to get the produce and the meals to people that we need, expanding what we do at our dinners to kind of meet the growing numbers. So really, we just try and work to gather the support, to gather the manpower, and gather the funding to be able to continue to grow with our community, because we want to make sure that we are always there, always able to help anyone, and that nobody needs to worry about where their next meal is going to come from.
Now, what growing numbers are you and your team actually seeing?
At our meal distributions, we are seeing a tremendous number of people who are continuing to come and who are saying, this is my very first time. I would say we're seeing probably each dinner, we're getting at least 10 to 15 cars that come through, and they're saying, this is my first time here, which is really heartbreaking to just see how many people, and a lot of people saying, oh, my friend told me about this or something, which is amazing. I'm so glad that people are sharing what we're doing and that we're able to reach more people, but it's just heartbreaking to see how many new faces we see every single day. We've also seen people in the community have been so incredible, and if they have a friend or a neighbor or someone who's not able to come, they will sit through the line for them and pick up meals to bring to them, which has been great. So it's heartwarming to see how people are really working together, but at the same time, it's really heartbreaking to see how the need has really grown.
And what type of funding do you need right now, Miss Katie?
Right now, we can use funding to support our meal distributions. We are doing over 600 meals every distribution, so that is very expensive, especially with inflation and with our rising gas prices. It's definitely a struggle, so we can desperately use support for our meal distributions, support for our flagship garden as well. As I said, we continue to kind of grow and expand it to meet the growing needs. So funding that can help us with our garden, keep up with our garden, and also to continue to expand our garden, and also funding for our programs such as our outdoor classroom programs. We really want to make sure that we are reaching the community, kind of teaching them, showing them the power of the garden, and also we're really excited about our fall gardening classes that we're going to be offering this year to kind of teach those who may not know how to grow their own produce how to do that. So we can also use support for programs like that to make sure we're able to go out to the community, show people how they're able to grow their own produce, and in turn be able to help them become more sustainable.
What is the power of the garden these days?
The power of the garden, I think it's really just, I don't even know, it's just magical being out there to see the whole process go through to plant one tiny seed or plant a really small seedling and watch how that grows and it's just beautiful plants providing healthy fresh produce, then getting to see the people that it helps to feed, the smiles on their face, and then the kids seeing how much they learn in the garden. These kids are amazing. They're so smart. They love the garden. I learn something new every time that I spend with them, and just really getting to see just the magic that happens there, the friendships that are created, and using the power of the garden for learning, for helping others, being good stewards to the earth. I mean, there's so many different things, and I think it just makes it so, so magical. I feel so lucky to get to do what I love every day, and so blessed to have a community that supports me.
Oh, absolutely. And for more information, KatieKrops.com, of course.
Thank you so much. Yes, reach out to our website, our social medias. We're Katie's Krops on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you're interested in making a donation, all the information is on our website.
Katie Stagliano with Katie's Krops. Thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome anytime.